Well. Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to High Top Sports. It has been a whirlwind of a day for Florida sports and just for Florida fans in general. It starts off with a commit. It's fantastic. Then we have the drama with Santaono, who was implied or intended on being the next president of the United States of Florida. He gets denied, and Cam just told me a little fun fact, and I'll let him clarify, the first president this ever happened to. And now we have this situation on where a freshman on the Florida football team, it's not been named because he's obviously a minor, but there's descriptions to lead us to believe to who we think it is. I haven't decided whether or not I want to say his name because, again, we don't know. We're assuming. And so I don't think it's fair to say anybody's name if you don't know who it is. We'll describe the person, and you can go look at the lineup and say, okay, this is who we believe that it is too. But I mainly want to talk about it because here's how I thought about it, man. Like, this happens. I call Stephen Harris, and him and I are going through this. And in this position, it's news on Florida football. So I feel the need to talk about it, even though it's not fun news. And then I go, look, I think it's also important to talk about it because we all come here to talk and to listen to our thoughts and opinions and talk through it and find some kind of closure, I guess, or an understanding, or just, it's kind of like we're all gathered on the water table. It's like, what do we think about this? What do we feel? And that's where I feel like that's where it's important to come on and talk about it, even though it is a crappy situation and we don't have all the details. And that's, I think, what's important about it. That's kind of what I'm going to lean on today, of like, we don't have enough. And in his situation, we'll go over the details. Cam's going to talk about it. It's not fun when you read the details. But again, you go back to the Deshaun Johnson situation. When you read the details, it was very alarming. And then it came to be, it was like, just kidding. It's not even that big of a deal. That's kind of the same approach that I'm taking here, but there's another victim involved. So then you have to be considerate of that victim. So it's a do-si-do. And this is kind of a fun little world that I'm getting into of how do we make sure that we present this in a proper way where we don't sound like an idiot. I probably will, but I think the thing that I've always leaned on is being myself, being vulnerable, and being as honest as I possibly can to portray a message. I think I've rambled enough. Let's get Cam Parker in here, boys and girls, and let's talk all about it. Cam, I think I'm going to pass the buck to you at this point. I think I've done a good job of setting it up. I'll let you. I know you can only go so far from your professional perspective. I think that I can. My boss cleared the okay, but I think for personal reasons, I'm going to keep it close to things close as well too. But I'll let you go from here.
Yeah, I will say you did a beautiful job leading it off. No one leads it off like you do, man. You should have been the leadoff hitter over the weekend over there in Conway. I think things would have been a little less heated if you'd been batting in that leadoff spot. But yeah, man, what a day. Highs and lows. Get a commit. President gets denied, and now we're dealing with a felony arrest of a freshman football player. Yeah, I mean, just to start things off, 17 years old, so he cannot be named. As far as I know, he's being charged as a juvenile. So sometimes with charges like this, and especially if it's a 17-year-old, you could see maybe charged as an adult, and that's when the names get released. But that's not going to be the case, being charged as a juvenile. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll just blatantly kind of say it. If you read the Gainesville Sun's article, and by the way, tremendous reporting by Kevin Brockway. All the credit to him for breaking this story and the Sun's reporting. They do great jobs over there. Know both Kevin and their high school reporter, Noah Ram, very well. So be sure to go read his article. Give them credit where credit is due. The arrest report listed the accused as nearing 400 pounds. So not many players on Florida's current roster that weigh 400 pounds or close to it, even less so that are early enrollee true freshmen that weigh close to 400 pounds. And I will let the chips fall where they may for you guys to kind of do your own research from there. Because, again, the kid's 17 years old. You can't publicly state it, but that was in the arrest report that the accused is close to 400 pounds.
Can you read what we didn't do a good job either of what happened?
Yeah,
What's being accused?
I will read. This is straight from the Gainesville Sun, so straight from Kevin Brockway. It essentially just Spark Notes version stems from an argument that the accused and the accuser had over something on the accuser's phone. The accused threw the accuser onto a bed, pinned them down, was choking them, um, got off the bed. I guess punches were allegedly thrown too. The arresting officers noticed lacerations on the accused face or the accuser's face, excuse me. And then a iPhone 16 was thrown and shattered into the wall. Um,
Hmm.
and they noticed, I guess, phone imprints on the wall from where the alleged phone throwing happened.
Hmm.
Um, Again, I also want to point out that people may get lost why I have to say alleged because innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Again, we want to be careful with these kind of things, especially because it's a 17-year-old. You have to be careful with these type of things. So when you read these articles that say alleged, we kind of have to cover our bases in the fact that it's innocent until proven guilty. There's charges being filed. Investigation still kind of has to happen, and UF can't really do anything about it now. They have to kind of wait and see too. So, yeah, it was an argument over something that happened on or they noticed on a phone. It got physical. It seems like it was pretty bad considering that, according to the report, the lacerations and the face marks were visible and the accused was bleeding. Um, and
The accused, i.e., the person who's
the,
400 pound has
the,
lashes on their faces.
yes,
So like,
the alleged victim in this sense has lacerations on their face.
oh, the victim
Um, the,
has. Okay.
the arresting officers noticed that. Um, the accuser, or excuse me, the not the accused, the accuser. I'm just going to say the alleged victim and the player from now on, just so that we get that clarified. The alleged victim had face marks that looked like that they had been assaulted essentially, and
Okay.
the player allegedly blocked the victim from leaving the room. So that's where the charge. It was a third-degree felony charge. Let me pull it up here. It is a third-degree felony charge of
For
false
detainment.
imprisonment.
Yeah.
The alleged incident happened 2 days ago, so on June 1st. And again, it was a argument over something that was found on a cell phone. The alleged victim was pinned down by the player onto a bed, allegedly. Um, had been choked, punched. Her phone was thrown into the wall, and arresting officers noticed that on the alleged victim that there were face bruises, there were face marks, and there were imprints on the wall that looked like a cell phone had been thrown.
Now,
They arrested the football player, and they have been charged in Alaska County Civil Court as a juvenile.
do we know, did the arrest happen shortly after or a day later? Do we know?
I have no idea when the arrest was. I
Okay.
imagine it was because again, you got to think too. When arrests happen, these things take time for booking. Um, I kind of go back to the. This is. I don't want people to tie these two situations together, but when Jalen Kitna was arrested in the 2022 season, I remember that because that was the first big arrest when I was a student at UF. Happened in my senior year, and I was in the newsroom when it happened. People kind of knew what happened and that he had been arrested. I think even before he really got booked was when all those rumors started flying out. And so now I imagine he's been arrested already. I don't know when it happened. Um, I don't think it was on June 1st because again, these things take time to happen. Um, it may have been on June 1st, and we're just now finding out about it. Because if they noticed the face marks and the imprints on the wall, I don't know when it happened, but again, these are pretty serious charges. Um, I mean, any felony charge is serious, but it certainly is disturbing what the player is being accused of. Again, innocent until proven guilty, but it's not a good look. However way you want to put it, this is a very serious situation that's happening right now.
Yeah. So the details that you just gave me were more than what I had. I with the lacerations on the victim, because again, and it kind of like you said, it proven until or innocent until proven guilty, and that's where again, like Harris and I were talking about it, because again, I think emotionally, selfishly, we're always thinking like, hey, like we don't want anything bad happen to our players. Then you read the article and it's like, yeah, that's you're not going to be on the team anymore. But then, and again, like this is all going through my head. I'm walking you through how I, as a person, am thinking. This is my vulnerability, my honesty of like, well, we kind of got to take a step back, right? Because we've seen so many stories now where these accusings aren't severe and they've ruined men and women's life back and forth. Like it's gotten to a place where these like hey, he said, she said, did this have gotten over the top. So then you gotta kind of take a step back and it's like, you know, could it just be a, he's a football player. And then I even went to the point like, well, he's a freshman. He's not even that big of a deal yet. All these guys are getting money now. And so that's all running through my head. Again, I didn't know these details. The fact that there is actual physical altercations on there, that's going to make matters worse, I'd assume. But yeah, it doesn't appear to look good. Look, neither did the Deshaun Johnson one. This one seems a little bit harder to get out of, unless you can say that wasn't me. I don't know how
Yeah.
because even if it was provoked, let's just play the devil's advocate, provoked by the accuser, it doesn't really matter who started or who didn't start it. You still got into an altercation, I believe, is how that would probably shake up. I don't know, but um, yeah, doesn't look like it's good. I think there an announcement or
There was
someone from a statement.
from
Yeah,
there was a statement from UF. I'll read it here. It's just a basic statement. We will continue to gather facts, cooperate with, and monitor the legal and administrative process.
yeah.
So again, it's tough. It's such a weird. Like I don't really know how to word this because you almost can't act on it yet as a university because the player is 17 in a way, and again the player's identity is not public
Yes, you
because
can't,
he's
because if you kick that person off the team, then it's
not the team. Then everyone knows. Now
yeah.
again, I'd like to point out to what I talked about earlier in the arrest report, as reported by the Gainesville Sun. The player who's being accused of this weighs close to 400 pounds. So your context clues from there, you can go to UF's roster and look at the freshmen, and you see the ones that are close to 400 pounds. There's not many,
I think we can
and
confirm it's not Dallas Wilson based on those
yeah,
metrics. Okay.
it is. It's not Burnell Brown the third. It's not.
Yeah.
It's you can figure out with using context clues from that. But it's such a weird spot because one, you can't really act on anything because innocent until proven guilty, and two, the player's name is not public knowledge, at least physically public knowledge to where you can say anything.
Yeah.
And he's being charged as an adult; he's being charged as a juvenile. So I don't know where UF goes from this right now. Um, I mean, I assume sooner or later that things will become more clear. But again, this isn't like you brought up the Dijon Johnson incident. That was such a random thing, and then it turns out that the substance was creatine, right? I think that's what they came up with. So he's back in Gainesville and with the team. So and they, I guess they said something about it being handled in house as well. I don't know what you do with a situation like this. I'm not going to speak for UF or anything. I'm not a legal expert. I was nowhere close to getting a law degree at UF. But this is it's a weird situation, I will say, because again, 17 years old, but also it's kind of a 17-year-old that if you use the context clues from the available information, you kind of can numb it down of who it is.
Yeah. Look, and again, you kind of have to take a step back, and then you always want to try to play the card of like, okay, it's a 17-year-old kid. If the details come out, again, for me personally, you hit a woman, you're off the team. Like I don't really need any like, oh, it wasn't that big. Like there, for me personally, there is no like, hey, is there a line of how severe the action was? That's how I would manage it. And you can call me a hypocrite because I think when I talked about DeJean and I was like, look, if he did get caught with a substance, I was willing to go, hey, let's work through it. Like, You know what I mean? Like personally, like genuinely, and I still feel that way. And some people find that crazy of like that's a double standard. Look, that's where the human aspect comes in. This is where the conversation piece comes into it. There's things that I find way more egregious and way more unacceptable, and this falls into that category of like, yeah, that's just not going to work for me, big guy. Again, we don't know all the stories. Again, from what we're being told, if there's an ounce of truth to it, which again, the fact that there's lacerations, I think is the proper term, on the accuser, and there's an indention from the phone being thrown. Now, that's a little bit different because who threw the phone, right? Like you can kind of chalk that up. Having now, again, getting on the weird side of things, could she have done the lacerations to herself? Like this is where it can get dark and like where it's like I don't believe that's the case, but that would be the only way that I would say that. Okay, well there is no proof outside of he said she said, and that's where it can really get ugly. But if it's a quick test. If there's scratches on her face and they check his fingernails and it's her skin, it's a no brainer. It's been fun, but you're no longer our problem.
And it's obvious too that they had enough to make an arrest, right? Like
Well,
it's
real quick. Dylan Olive, he's our on the beat guy. He's close to the this guy's top notch. I should have asked him.
Tell him to get his married butt back to Gainesville so I have someone else up here to help me get some of this recruiting done.
He said he goes, I believe he admitted to throwing the phone to the cops. So
he said yes, he did.
Oh,
so I forgot to put that too, but so again, all of this is on the Gainesville Sun. So if you guys give credit to Kevin Brockway and his reporting, when the arresting officers read his Miranda rights, he had admitted to throwing the phone against the wall. He denied the other accusations.
Interesting.
So denied the physical, I guess the assault kind of part of it.
Yeah.
Denied the false.
That would have been a handy piece of information with the beginning of the show, Cam.
And at 100 miles an hour right now. I just ate. I usually go to bed around this time.
And I appreciate you
watching it. I had a Duck Dynasty marathon going tonight. Finally calmed down from like the craziness of like trying to get the recruiting done, and I'm also helping out on our Auburn site. So we're stretching me a little bit more. And all of a sudden, I sit down. I'm eating my quesadilla from Wawa, and I see the tweet.
Well, thank goodness that Dylan's in here to keep us in check, you know? So he said his boss sent him here to monitor you. Don't mind him.
So happy that Dylan is a member of Florida Gators on SI, man. I love that kid. And also, we'll say this. Congratulations on getting married and not telling anybody.
His girlfriend did, or wife.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell, just to segue into a funny little story. So obviously I just bought this house and I have 2 extra bedrooms. So I was like flirting with the idea on roommates or whatnot. Dylan graduates from UF and just goes silent in our SI Slack chat. And so I'm like, where did Dylan go? Like, what is going on here? Cause like he's a great writer and you know, he did a lot of great things for us this year. Where did he go? And so I texted him. I'm like, hey, I don't know what's going on, man, but I would appreciate, like, you have a job here after graduation. I just want to make that clear that, like, you know, you don't have to just leave because you graduated and go find something else. And I was like, and if you even wanted to move back to Gainesville, I would be happy renting to you if you want a room. He's like, oh, man, no, I'm good. I'll be, you know, getting settled back in, going back up to Gainesville soon with my girlfriend. Okay, sounds good. Week and a half later, she's dropping wedding pictures on Twitter. I'm like, well, now I kind of feel like an idiot for offering him my room. He's got all these plans, but whatever. Love Dylan. Dylan.
Guy moves like the G in lasagna. Silent, boys and girls. Well, yeah. Cam, I appreciate you putting your Duck Dynasty marathon on pause, your dinner on pause to come on and give us partial information. It's been a healthy dialogue. I think hopefully it helps. Look, again, we're trying to piece this together and talk about it as much as we can with as little as we have. And again, I think it's important to have these. Again, I've kind of learned with this platform that, you know, The reason why it exists is because we're all kind of in the same way. We're the same person. We're thinking the same thing. We're going through the same emotions, same feelings. And some of us that are really like into it, we just want to have a sounding board, myself included. So for me though, you always kind of worry, like you said, you were talking earlier, and we won't get into the details, but writing a certain article of like, hey, how should we phrase this? You don't want to. It sucks that you have to kind of have to operate that way because you can go tilt one way too far, and it's like you're just getting absolutely slashed. And I think there's the time and a place to have a stance on something, and a time and place to have healthy conversation. And I try to balance that as best as I can. Thankfully, and I always say this. I always thank God. I say this all the time with the success of this channel. If this success of the channel comes 6 years, 7 years earlier, I blow it. I burn this thing to the ground. God was like, "You're not ready yet, kid," and allowed for me to mature a little bit. I think having the kid was helpful, and I think it has allowed for me to handle and manage things in a good way. So, my message to all of you, youngins out there and old ones out there, that sometimes stuff doesn't make sense. Why don't you have it now? And you can't see why you don't have it now. And eventually, maybe you will. Maybe you never will. I don't know. I've been able to see that, but not sure how we got there. But look, all in all, good conversation.
I I can echo on that too, considering I was graduating from UF with like $30 in my bank account, a crappy part-time job where all my money was being thrown towards my rent, and no post-grad options on the horizon whatsoever. And one little internship with our guy Zach Goodall turned into eventually me buying a house in Gainesville and getting to cover this team full time. So it's just to echo on that, man. It really is kind of a wild ride when you think about it. But yeah, again, going back to what we talked about, innocent until proven guilty. These things kind of usually come out with time. We'll see how UF responds to it and how they handle some sort of, if there's a suspension or a removal from the team. This is such a new situation in the sense that these things just, the incident was 2 days ago, right? So we really had kind of have to let this one play out, and see what happens within the legal system, what UF decides, go from there. And again, all the credit to Kevin Brockway and the Gainesville Sun for their reporting. Everything that we talked about on the Gainesville Sun, go give it a read. It's got all the details that I said and all the ones that I missed and Dylan held me accountable for. So go give them a read and give them credit because they did some great reporting.
This comment I love, and this is where I was kind of battling internally. Rick H says, we don't give this kid due process. He'll just go to another college and it'll happen again. Can we help him? He's a young man without good judgment. Maybe we can be better off to help him. And so look, I like this perspective because obviously your original thought is to say you don't do that, get off my team. And I think, again, there's lines, and I think that's where everyone has to find their process. But in a way, Rick's right. He is just going to go play for another team. And in a sense, and I wouldn't say get away with it, but it's like, does he learn his lesson because he just goes to a different school, a little less caliber, and can kind of play his way back? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. But there's also a point to where it's like, hey, that's where the details come into play of like, okay, you were a little aggressive. Maybe it wasn't as severe as what it's appealing to. Again, I don't know. This is where it kind of gets fishy. This is where you don't know what to say. Again, I don't know. I don't know to condone any of it, but it's like when you recruit these kids, you kind of take them on as your own. And if you look at like my kid did this, I'm not going to just cast him away. I'll, you know, murder him. But
Yeah.
the thing is, like you take him back under your wing. It's like I've got to help you because clearly something's off. And we made a commitment to you on helping you. And look, you're not going to play for an entire year. And there is a part to that I do respect. Is this the time that you do that? I don't know. And I think that's where, if what comes out is true, that's where Billy and Co, they're going to have to make that judgment call. But it's a great point. And this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is why I like doing this. I think it's good to see everyone's thoughts and perspective on it.
And you think to just the Napier era as a whole, this is such an outlier. I mean, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times that a player has been arrested and now almost going into his fourth year leading the program. I don't think I've been ever able to say that on the previous head coaches in the time that I've been alive, right? It always felt like there was something that,
Yeah,
some bigger or whatnot. And that, remember when the Dijon Johnson stuff happened, people were like, oh my gosh, like
we're back.
Florida, like those Um, but again, you're talking about a felony charge here too. Now, again, that's why I say, we kind of have to let the legal process play out. Does the charges stay? Does he plead down? What happens? How does he plead? Where does the you just don't know. I mean, this is such a new thing that it literally the only thing we know is this player has been charged with a third-degree felony, and these are why this is the evidence the Gainesville Police Department had to arrest him. That's all we know. We don't know anything else from there. So that's why I say, like, with these things, we kind of just have to wait and see, let them play out, see what happens within the legal system. And I think that that's kind of what UF has to do too, where they're not in a spot to make a decision right now. You kind of have to just let this play out, and if it ends with the kid has to be removed from the team, he has to be removed from the team. Billy, I don't think, has been quick to pull the trigger on kicking guys off the team. I think he's only kicked maybe 2 or 3 guys off the team in his time in Gainesville, one of them being Brenton Cox Jr.
Yeah.
And I remember when Kamari Wilson was here, his last year, he was in the doghouse a lot, and things kind of ended poorly there. And so and again, those situations weren't even close to what is happening right now. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there is almost a right answer with the punishment, because you also want to be, again, innocent until proven guilty. Let the legal process play out. But you can't downplay the fact that this is a third-degree felony, and what this player is being accused of is very serious.
Yeah.
You can't just ignore it and say, like, oh, we'll handle it in house and we'll be fine. This is a serious charge that it's just very serious. I mean, there's no other word to say it. This is a serious thing that's happening.
Brent from the chat, again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know Brent, but it doesn't seem like it would a thing to make up. I was at Shan's ER in 6-1, which is when the arrest came, which, again, we don't know how that all plays out. But anyways, all evening, around 7 to 9 p.m., a young man came in with lacerations to his face. I overheard that he was involved in an altercation and gave a report. Interesting. So this is it could be anybody. I mean, it's fun. It's just coincidence, maybe, but take that with what you will. But anyways, boys, great stuff. Glad to see you guys. Glad some of you were able to join in on this live little hot stream. Spoiler alert: tomorrow, live at 8:35 on Wednesday, Dallas Baker, the touchdown maker, joins the show. So, little good news to end the day that we can roll into tomorrow. So, a lot of great conversation for the best day of the week happening tomorrow. Stephen Harris will be joining us because Dave decided to take vacation on the most hectic week of the year. It's like Dylan All. Like these guys they're useless. They're just zero accountability. They're just fly by the seat of their pants.
The only Dave allowed to take vacations from now on is Gator Dave, because we get
we crush.
Florida only commits. When High Top Dave takes vacations, you get commits and controversy. I'd rather commits, because that's fun to write about. So, yeah, Boulder's not allowed to go on vacation anymore. Gator Dave can go on all the vacations he wants. He's earned it. Swolder better put his ass back in that chair and get ready to go, because I just can't take it anymore.
Nobody knows when I go on vacation because I still shoot. They don't even know that I'm on. I'm shooting fun vacation. It's committed to the game.
This isn't a job to you. This is
This is my vacation.
This is your life. You enjoy this so much, and we thank you for your service. You put in work.
That's true. You do too. You missed out on Duck Dynasty tonight. So, Cam, love you as always, man. Thank you for being ready to rock and roll. This is how great Cam is. I go, yo, this is 9:50, 9:48. I go, yo. He goes, what's up? I was like, you down to go live about this? He goes, yeah. I go, 10:05. See you there. Hits you with a thumbs up, and here he is, looking great as ever. So, go give Cam a follow. The guy's all over it, crushing it as always. And he was in our Discord, kind of pumping info. That's why I was like, all right, let's get in after it. Because at first there was very limited information. I was scouring the internet like, what's going on here? This is nuts. But anyways, love you, Cam. Thank you, man. Give him a follow, Cam Parker 25 on X. Y'all be good. Good night. Peace and love, baby.